everyone. I am in my lovely hotel room. You can see it's nice, nice, not too bad. I should show you the shower because there's no. Let me show you. Let me show you what the showers look like here in India. Most of them. Voila. You see how there's no door? It's just open like that? Yeah. Welcome to India. You just they give you a little squeegee, and then you have to push all the water in the drain. La la la. Okay, so this is what I want to talk about. I am sharing something that I was waiting to share, and I'll tell you in a moment. So I think I mentioned this before. When I went back to Paris after I told my family the truth, which was in mid-September, I had a lot of, I had a big, what do I want to say? There was a lot of stress, stress, anxiety, and what stress and anxiety does in the body is it shows up as eczema. Now, I've expressed and shared my journey with eczema last year. You can check it out here. And I healed it myself. I healed eczema. It was really bad. I think it's eczema. It was pretty bad, right? I healed it myself. I go into detail about what I did. It was a process and a journey. Okay. So healed it. Everything was great. Now I go back to Paris and there was a lot of stress and anxiety around money, around where I'm going to stay next because I had to do some sublets. I did a couple of cat sits and all of that caused a lot of stress. And you can watch it in the past. So guess what came back? Eczema. It started small. It was on my legs initially and it surprised me. And I was like, oh, I know how to do this. I know how to heal this myself. Easy. I just won't look at it. I know it's healed. So it was a little bit on my legs. And I just kind of was like, I got this, right? Then there was more stress. And I noticed it was on my shoulders again. And I was like, oh, okay, I know how to do this. I remember. You don't look at it, you know it's healed. I would close my eyes in the shower, putting on the lotion, la la la. And I noticed because even though you're closing your eyes and you're imagining that it's already healed, I can feel that it wasn't. So there was this contradictory thought, it's not healing. And you thought it healed in the past and here it is again. This isn't going to work again. You can't just cut and paste. What have I learned about this journey is cutting and pasting and just doing the same thing that I did in the past totally ignores the now. Meaning, I learned so much in the months after I healed it. Like, I can't just ignore all of that lived experience and just go, oh, worked in the past, so I'm going to do it again, right? So there was all this conflict, even though I was still going through the process. Now, this is what was interesting around November, right before I went to London for a month, uh, I had a couple of bad dreams, and the dreams signified to me. I had a bad dream that on my inner elbow was a snake. Now, snakes are incredibly transformative because what do? They shed their skin, right? So it was a snake coming out from the inner elbow, and it was like a two-headed snake, and I just remember waking up and I was like, I think I'm avoiding. I think I'm afraid to look at it. And I think I'm avoiding looking at it. And I think this whole process of trying to do exactly what I did before, like it's not working. So I started to look at it. And so when I started to look at it, I, of course, reacted. When I reacted, of course, it got bigger because the reaction was, oh no, I'm afraid of this thing outside of me. Um, I thought I healed it before. It didn't heal it. So that means, what am I doing wrong? All of that stuff bubbled up. And I just had to be like, okay, I accept it, right? Good thing it's winter. I don't have to like showcase my shoulders or la la la, right? then I go to London and, I try to do the same thing. I do a mix of, okay, there's something in me that knows that I'm meant to work through this differently. Please show me. And I would wake up with this awareness going, I know it's not about avoiding looking at my skin. I know it's not about trying and efforting. Like, what if it's just about letting go, letting my body just do what it naturally is meant to do, which is to heal, which really just means to restore it back to balance, restore it back to its natural state. What if I just got out of the way? So then I realized on YouTube, I started to see this guy keep showing up on my YouTube feed. You know how this happens. His name is Rupert Spira, and he talks about non dualism. And the idea around non dualism is so simple, but it's not easy, which is I am the awareness. We are all the awareness. The I am is the awareness that holds all experience. So think about it. He uses the example of like the movie screen. The movie screen is just white. The stories and all the experiences and the sensations that are appearing on the movie screen is the identity, is experience itself, but the white behind it that's showcasing the movie, that's who we really are at all times. So if we're just all awareness holding all of it, that means fear can exist, anxiety can exist, stress can exist, agitation, anger, all of that can exist within the movie screen because you're just the movie screen holding all of it. So I started to put this or create this association with it's not wrong or bad to have fear or anxiety or stress. It's only the belief, the conditioned belief that tells me it's bad. So therefore, I can look at my skin and know that I'm the awareness that holds maybe the disharmony in this moment, but also holds that I'm naturally healed because that's naturally what my skin and my body will do, right? We tend to see something that's quote unquote wrong on us, around us, and then we immediately go, what happened externally or internally that caused this because we assume it's bad. We don't ever see it as part of the healing. So I started to really dive into this idea because I experimented with this when I had a lot of stress and anxiety this last quarter of the year. One of the things I realized, and I talk about it, but I'll mention it again, is I remember when I didn't have money or I was waiting on this check to be cleared, and I went to a tour and I was starting to get stressed around like, I wonder if I can just manifest making 100 euros in tips. But then the thought was like, well, no, that can't be because you want that. So therefore, if you want it, you're separate from it. I was like creating all this dissonance or whatever. And then I thought to myself, but what if that thought doesn't do anything to hurt the possibility? That's when it first started to arise. Like, what if the doubt that I could make $100 or 100 euros in tips doesn't actually hurt the possibility of making 100 euros in tips? The only way it hurts is if you believe it hurts. And so I started to just wrap my head around like, it doesn't hurt me to have that thought. It doesn't hurt me to have like this negative thought or this negative thought. Like it kind of feels good. Like I'm swimming around this like very neutral place, like the screen, right? Holding all of it. So I go to give the tour, and what happens? I make 100 euros in tips. And I was like, that's it. It was like evidence that negative thoughts, beliefs, things like that don't actually hurt us. It's just the belief. And really, it's conditioned in us. So again, it's not going to be so cut and paste every single time, but that first beginner's luck of receiving what it is that I wanted in spite of having the negative and the thoughts telling me it wasn't going to happen, showed me it's possible. So I thought, okay, then this time around, this is here for me to practice this very belief, which is that it's not bad to look. It's not, um, it's not going to inhibit the healing from happening. But at the same time, like we have to remember, our eyes are showing us something which we're conditioned to believe everything outside of us is more powerful than what's inside of us. So this is like a tricky, messier kind of way to heal, right? Like I said, the truth is we are the awareness that holds all of it. But in reality, we're so conditioned to believe that what's on my skin is more powerful and I have to do something about this to release it, to relieve it, to heal it, right? That it can't just heal on its own. So I went back and forth quite a bit. This is all in London. And I knew when I got to India, I know, okay, this is really going to be a place that I'm going to feel really nurtured. I'm going to be able to use, everything, all these modalities. It's such a healing place, blah, 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 etc. And so I remember the first week I got here, it was still really hard. And I journaled this and I want to share it because it gets messy, right? It's messy. Okay. And I like what I wrote. Okay. Ah, hold that thought, hold that thought, hold that thought, hold that thought. Okay. Because then once I created this awareness, I was able to move forward in a new way and it really was powerful. Okay. It feels like it's harder because I'm allowing all of it, the contrast, the doubt, the emptiness, the fear that it won't ever heal, the pressure that I'm doing something wrong, etc. Last time I hit a rock bottom and that forced me to commit. And I believe the reason why it healed and healed so fast was because it was so new and so different, where it showed me I do have the power. We all have the power within us to heal ourselves. And by avoiding and just knowing and going, okay, I know my body's healed, doing that long enough, eventually it healed. But now there's a deeper understanding that needs to be integrated, I believe, right? Which is that it's not wrong or bad to look at something and know this is okay, this is healing, to be in the process of and not be afraid to look. Because what was happening was I was afraid to look. I was efforting, trying really hard, trying to avoid, and all I was doing was giving it more power. And that's okay. None of it's wrong, but all of that I had to be aware of that, right? So now this new stage, I say, this time it feels messier, scarier because there's a voice that says, why can't you look and know it's healed? So this coincides with the larger journey, right? Which is like knowing I'm already abundant, seeing the bank account, seeing it in negative, seeing it in red, and knowing I'm still abundant, that this is just temporary, that to not be afraid of that because it's not actually true. Because what's true is that I'm always taken care of. Abundance always flows. It doesn't always flow in the way that I think, meaning it doesn't always flow where money just drops into my account. However, I'm always taken care of. I always have a safe place to land. I always have food to eat, all of this stuff, right? So it's the same kind of idea here. It feels harder and messier because you're seeing something that isn't natural or normal on your skin, and you're saying, even though I see this, I have a knowing that it's all here for me, that it is already healed, and I just have to get out of the way, thinking or creating a story that might be thinking it's never going to heal by me. Looking at my skin makes it wrong. All of these assumptions that's getting in the way of the healing. It's not true. The only thing that gets in the way of the healing is when you go down the path of trying to overanalyze or think what you're doing is wrong. Because again, non-duality teaches I am the awareness that holds it all, means there's nothing wrong with anything that's happening. And that's a whole mind F, because we're so conditioned to think that certain things are wrong and certain things aren't. So here's what happened. So I said, this process is meant for me, or is meant to feel messy, because there's a deeper truth awaiting to blossom. That is to know if you leave the body to heal, it will heal on its own. Recommit to this. What's different is not to punish myself for not being able to clear, but to allow it all. I know my body is healing me. I trust myself and my body completely. I'm showing myself that I can heal this way, right? Although the thoughts of contrast arise while knowing I am healed, no matter what is said, no matter what people think, no matter what, blah, 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 blah. I can do this. I am doing this. Awareness holds all of it. So deepen into this field that it's healed, right? So also that means you can't hurry it away, even though we want to hurry. We want everything to happen on our timeline. I think he said it really well, which was that to to know something without seeing, even though your eyes are telling you a different reality, but to know something, it requires a different level of strength, a different level of practice, I will say, because we're so conditioned to see with our eyes and our past than we are with our knowing, right? It's like having a vision of something, even though everything in the current reality is telling you none of it's possible. And you're like, but I know it is. And sometimes when you have doubt, and when you have, and of course all of that is okay, that's the whole purpose, is like all of it can exist because you are the awareness that holds all of it. So none of it's hurting you, none of it is wrong. That's a much, like, think about living your life that way, where nothing is wrong. You're not reacting thinking, oh God, I reacted to this. And it's such a subtle difference because it happens in the body, because I'm so hyper aware and I've really asked, right, for this understanding and this knowing. It will happen subtly in the body, because I'll witness the reaction and then I'll get mad at myself for reacting. And then again, that's putting more evidence or pressure. It's not that it's wrong. It's just I'm aware and I'm like, okay, let's just back that up. Let's try that again. Tomorrow we shower. Tomorrow we take a look, and we keep, I guess the goal, even though we don't want to think of it as a goal, but I guess if I were to go, okay, what is it that I'm really after? It's to become neutral and indifferent, and to know that all of it, all the contrast can exist, and still my body heals back to balance. My body knows exactly what it's doing, and it's here for me to practice this new nuanced awareness around reality and what is, and so on and so forth. And yeah, so I wanted to share this because it has gotten so much better, even though you can see. Um, but it was way worse until I started to really uh, put these put these ideas into practice, you know. And so I wanted to share it because, again, it's not about, I'm only going to share when it's all done and looks pretty. It's about giving you evidence, showcasing that it's possible, that there's so many ways to live, to apply these practices. And like I said, even though it's incredibly simple, it's just not easy because the eyes will just deceive us and tell us that what's outside of us is more powerful and we don't have the power inside. But I'm telling you, you do. And I'm telling me, I do. So there you go. And voila, as we say in Paris, and swaha, as they say here. So be it, and so it is. Sending you guys so much love. Hope that helps always. Bye.